Today I'm making a Pyment from actual grapes crushed up to a bottle. So let's get started. So in today's recipe, we're taking actual grapes that I got online. I didn't just buy regular grapes you get at the grocery store, but I got true wine grapes crushed, and we're basically making our wine based off that, which is something different than what I've done previously. We're making a Pyment. If you've never had a Pyment is a wine and mead hybrid. So previously I've done like grape juice. I've done a Great Value or Welch's grape juice Pyment, and it was fine. But what happens when you use the real thing? Well, I got on this grape, I think it's Grapes for Must or something like that, website, I'll put a link below, and found two things. I bought some Merlot grapes with the intent of making a wine. When I did, that's a whole other video I'll show you. And I bought some Sangiovese. I learned it's that pronunciation from my good friend Tony. I bought the two, I think they're like 6-gallon buckets of these crushed grapes. And they literally come with stems and leaves and every little thing happening in there. It is a kit, so it had a little instruction manual with how to do this. So what I did was I got those grapes. The instruction manual said, hey, make sure you ferment on the skins, being a red wine. So that's what I did. I'll throw up a recipe card. Obviously, you might not have access to the same grapes. So sub out the grape that I'm talking about here. Get whatever grapes you can. You're gonna need a fruit press or wine press, or whatever you have, in order to press said fruit at some point. So that's something big to own. We're using tropical honey in this situation, some berry wine tannin, which is what I have. You could use regular wine tannin, Fermentation, which is our yeast nutrient, very helpful for this fermentation, and the Laubenborgiven RC212. We didn't do any back sweetening, and I'll talk about why here in a second, but this was pretty simple to start. Starting point, get the grapes. They were already crushed. I literally poured my honey in to that. I took my drill attachment that I had and basically just went to town, stirring things up. The previous 24, 48 hours before that, they had thawed. They came frozen. So basically I let them thaw and then added my honey in, took my drill attachment and went to town on it and basically mixed up all of the things there. Our starting gravity was roughly about 1.132. So that is pretty steep mead if it ferments all the way out, which spoilers, it did not. We started the fermentation with our Borgiven RC212. We used like 10 grams of it, really just to give it a good heads up. So we dumped it right in there, mixed it in there. We staggered the nutrient because this is such a high gravity brew. I wanted to make sure the yeast had food over time. So that's what we did. We added the yeast nutrient at day 1 or 24 hours after the fermentation started, 48 hours after it started, and then we did one more little boost 72 hours in. So it continued to ferment there. Because this is grape-based or fruit-based, we had to go and punch the cap, as we call it, meaning you take and you push the fruit down to get submerged in the liquid. So there's no chance of mold or bacteria or anything grabbing hold in that circumstance. So that's what we did, push all of the fruit down, punch the cap every day for about a week, which was kind of annoying to do, but it was very necessary. The fermentation flew by pretty fast. One important factor here is we needed to go ahead and press the fruit. I'll show you a video. I pressed the fruit with a fruit press. You put it in top. It's got the spinny wheel and you just crank on down and it presses every bit of juice out of the grapes. It took some time, but we yielded roughly about 4 gallons of liquid from all of that. Our final gravity, noticing where it stopped, even after I'd let it set for a little while longer, was 1.050. So this thing's sweet, very naturally sweet, and that's okay. We burned through 80 something points of gravity, only about 10 something percent. Could it have gone further? I imagine so. However, I'm kind of happy with where it stopped. If you do this and it stops too short, you can do things to help the fermentation go along, like give it some more yeast nutrient, Fermentation. In this circumstance, mix it up a little bit. That might kickstart it some more. If you really are in a pinch, you can basically make another yeast starter with another yeast that's stronger and add that in. Theoretically, fermentation will continue on and finish wherever it needs to. But I like where this ended, actually. We pressed the grapes, we got the juice, all that stuff. I noticed the sweetness level. I didn't have to do any back sweetening or stabilizing because I was like, okay, this is cool. I didn't plan on actually taking and oaking it because talking to my friend Tony, I said, hey, is this something that's normally oaked? And he said, no, most people don't oak a Sangiovese. And I was like, okay, so I trusted his opinion and I left it alone. I racked it into a keg. Now, there's no video of this, but essentially I put it into a keg and let it set for a while because I needed a better vessel. You might just put it into a regular carboy and do something with it. You could also decide with your Pyment, you want to oak it. This is a great time to add oak to that. You might also decide, hey, I want to take and back sweeten it. So you might need to stabilize the brew with potassium sorbate and metabisulfite, or pasteurize it and then back sweeten with however much honey that you want to add. You also might need to add some acid balance, like some citric acid, malic acid, tartaric acid, something like that to give it a little more boost in that regard. Those are some post-fermentation steps that you can do with lots of brews, specifically. So at that point, it sat in the keg for a hot minute, and then I went ahead and bottled a few that I planned to keep still, meaning no carbonation at all. So that's what we have here. This is a still version. It's just been chilling in this bottle. The other part, I actually took and force carbonated. And you're asking, why am I carbonating a wine? One thing I noticed, and one thing I've seen recently, are people are taking and lightly carbonating lots of brews that are higher ABV or higher sweetness, like Pyments, like this, and they're doing really well. It adds some extra lift, some carbonic acid, because that's what carbonation does, makes it a little more interesting. So that's what I did. One part of this has it's petulant, is what we're gonna call it. It's the difference between still, carbonated, there's petulant right in the middle. It's got a little bit of carbonation. This is a still version. So now that I've talked about all this, let's go ahead and open them up. I'm gonna open up the still version real fast, and here's what it looks like. Again, no carbonation. I'm gonna go over to my keg here in a second. Let's go ahead and go over and get the other pour. All right, so I've got both. I've got the carbonated on this side, and I've got the still on this side. So let's go ahead and start with the still version, see what that's like. This thing is very big-bodied, lots of chew, lots of tannin, and I think the acid from the carbonation side changes it a little bit. Doesn't make it less tannic, but it definitely gives it a different mouthfeel. The grape Sangiovese flavor really pops. So I'm not a wine expert in any way. Here's what the internet says about these grapes and what they taste like. It says red fruit flavors of cherry, plum, and blackberry. I think you can combine that with this honey, which is a tropical honey, has lots of flavors there. I do get this really rich, jammy-like profile. Definitely lots of blackberry and plum, in my opinion. The sweetness is strong. It's very sweet, but there is acid here, lots of tartaric acid, lots of tannin, which is helping to counterbalance the strong sweetness that we get. Very good. Let's see what a little bit of carbonation does to this brew. So this guy, steady stream of bubbles coming from the bottom. Looks good. Here we go. Oh yeah. That carbonation definitely adds a lot of brightness and lift. Definitely acid to this thing. There's a fair amount of acid punch because of the carbonic acid, but it's definitely very, very good and rich and honey forward. And it's hard to get honey character when you have such a strong fruit flavor, but this is a good balance of it. This brew is really good and it's really strong, 10.5% roughly. I'm delicately drinking these because they are very strong ABV. It's kind of one, like if I had a 375 or a beer bottle of it like this size, I would split the bottle with a friend. I would probably have a hard time killing this whole bottle myself because it's so strong. And that's okay. The strong factor is totally fine, but it does make it a lot. It's very rich, very desserty because of the sweetness. This is not one you're gonna drink whenever you're sitting around just trying to have a steak, you know, like this is a dessert wine for sure. I really enjoy it, and it sparked a fire in me to go ahead and set aside some funds now to buy some more wine grapes. That wine grape bucket that I bought was not cheap. This is not a cheap mead. So spoilers, if you're thinking you're gonna get away with a true grape mead for cheap, unless you live on a vineyard, you're probably gonna pay the big bucks, or you live close to one. So I'll put the website down for where I got my grapes. I highly encourage you to try it. It's fun to experiment around. You do need a press in some way. You can technically take and put the grapes in a bag and squeeze them. I don't quite recommend that though, to be honest, because it just doesn't work as well. So if you can get a fruit press, that's the best way to do it. But it's a really fun experience, and I highly encourage you to try it. I highly encourage you to give this a shot. I am sending it off to some competitions. So here's some scores. It could tank, it could do great. I have no idea. I haven't even sent them off yet. I'm still waiting for those competitions to open their windows for me to do that. So here's how they did. Ooh, or ooh, uh-oh. I don't know. Regardless, I hope you'll try this. Let me know what you think down below. Is this something that you're trying, you've already done, you want to try? If so, what kind of grapes do you want to do this with? Regardless, thanks for watching. Thanks for being a part of this channel. I hope you'll hit subscribe, leave a comment, check out those links, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.